painful. Thank you, my daughter. My name is Jefferson. I'm representing another one of the woodworking contingents of tonight's affair. We were asked to demonstrate. Unfortunately, most of my tools are hundreds, if not thousands of pounds, so I have no demonstration. Instead, I'd like to talk about, in the spirit of tools, what has become quite easily the most important tool that I've ever owned. Massive insecurity and crippling self-doubt, if channeled correctly, can lead to a monumentally rewarding career. I was going to be a grade school teacher. I had wandered aimlessly through college, and my contemporary U.S. history degree was proving useful for Trivial Pursuit and Jeopardy reruns, so I pointed my rudderless ship towards teaching 8-year-olds. A plan, had it fruited, would have undoubtedly traded that classroom for a padded cell. Fortunately, a casual nudge from a wise uncle towards a woodworking class thwarted that plan and sent me running to the wood shop, where I've been hiding for the last 19 years. It was at this school where my fragile ego met its warmest security blanket. School was 6 days a week, 10 hours a day for 2 years, and I quickly realized that the better I became, the more strokes I received. I was enamored of the process and had a natural aptitude, but make no mistake, it was the attention that drove the work. So suddenly there was this magical thing that kept me enthused and engaged and creative and productive and could simultaneously feed the monster. This insecurity that I've felt all my life, this feeling of insignificance and worth, this fear we so often opt to run away from or bury or hide or simply distract from their presence. And I've never been good at distraction, and I have a woefully small number of vices, so I was forced to accept these fears and quickly recognized and appreciated that these unsightly and embarrassing and sometimes really shameful parts of ourselves can be the most powerful and effective teachers. My fear of others' eyes finding mistakes in my work trained my eyes to see better. And my fear of others' hands running over every surface of every piece I made trained my hands to find and feel everything. I feared that one guy in some gallery in some city, on his knees underneath some table I made, seeing if the underside was just as perfect as the top. And guess what? That guy exists. And the underside of that table was waiting for him. And in the retelling of this, I realize it sounds kind of tragic and brutal, but it never felt like that. My sort of inner dialogue of critique jived with my self-opinion, so it felt perfectly appropriate. And that wasn't supposed to be funny at all. And with it being accepted, it could be put to use. You know, it fueled self-challenge in the scope and complexity of work, and it spurred risk and creativity. And yes, to answer your question, I was completely aware of the unhealthy dynamic of using others' appreciation to buoy the fragility of an ill-developed ego. But during what I coined the fragile period, I made some really cool shit. About 5 years ago, the career took a gentle veer when my childhood drum kit finally conceded to old age, and being underwhelmed with what was commercially available to replace her, I turned to my wood shop instead to make new shells. And that was the inception of Sugar Percussion, which is named for said daughter, Ruby Sugar, my wonderful, blessed, resplendent, lovely thing. And rightly so, given all proceeds go to fund her future therapy account to undo what I've undoubtedly mishandled. Sorry. So I've spent the last 5 years attempting to answer the question, how perfect can one make a circle? which seems a seemingly simple puzzle to solve, apparently in the chronically neurotic and insecure hands of this underdeveloped knucklehead, not so simple. As life would have it, I recently went through an incredibly painful, wildly ungraceful, and truly disheartening breakup. And that little kid in me, that one for so long has so desperately sought that sense of worth and significance, was emotionally filleted on a level that not previously experienced. And I realized, I came to appreciate, something happened first. After I passed the stones of blame and anger and resentment and all the other insecure and unproductive horseshit we cling to when feeling slighted, I came to acknowledge and appreciate a direct correlation between the amount of pain one feels and the amount of opportunity for introspection within that pain. And the viewpoint from what felt like certainly a version of rock bottom was one that I had never had before. And for the first time, I could clearly see the source of all that insecurity. And much to my delight, that perspective alone has proved substantial enough to shed it. So now the noise in my head is a little quieter, and it's an odd and unfamiliar, albeit welcomed and peaceful loneliness. And though I would never wish their return, I still cherish those voices, because without their residency, I wouldn't be half as capable as I am. Their fears bred a skill set far greater than would have been possible without them, and once established, no longer required their presence to remain. Without the well-attended mental dinner party I've been hosting for the last 44 years, there's no fucking way I could turn this into this. So thank you very much for listening.